Awesome. Well, it looks like we're going to be live on everything but Instagram. The Instagram one glitched, but that's okay.
All right.
Hey, welcome everybody. Excited to be here live, doing a live today talking about community, really how to build and develop a community of people who can help lift and elevate you, take you to the next level. And I've got the pleasure to have with me today, Rob Matzkin. He is a serial entrepreneur with multiple successful exits. And quite honestly, those of you who are following me, who know me, I read people for a living, and Rob is one of the few people I feel safe with to actually be open, vulnerable, share everything about me. And he's been there through some of the struggles that I've had, made some magic happen for me, and really been there as a support for me. And when I thought about community and wanting to have this discussion, there was only a handful of people that I would trust to bring in and really have that discussion. And Rob was at the top of the list. And today, I've dealt with a lot of phone calls in the last week or two about people who are really struggling, looking at suicide, depression, anxiety, PTSD, dealing with businesses that are falling apart. And the importance of having people who are in your corner, who support you, who believe in you, can't be stressed enough. And Rob, you've been that for me. You've been that for a lot of people. And I'm just honored that you would be able to join us today, have this discussion. And I want to kind of have this discussion. So welcome today to the live. Appreciate having you.
Thanks, man. One, it's amazing seeing you. Two, thank you for all those amazing kind words. Really appreciate it. And it means something when people tell me that they trust me. So thank you sincerely. And yeah, man, it's great to be here and be speaking with everybody here watching us. So thanks again.
Of course. So what is community? What does community mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's such a great question, right? And community to me is people that I can rely on, right? People that I could call up when I need help, and just people that could support me along the way. So many people want to say, like, I think society today wants to promote this superhuman, super founder, super this, it's the one person that made all these companies and made all these things happen. And it's just a PR narrative. It's just a press narrative. And when you really look at it, it takes a team. It takes a community. It takes people around you. And the greatest founders will admit, first of all, it was never, Apple, it was, Jobs and Woz, right? Even Microsoft, it was two founders, right? It's Google, it's Page and Brin, right? And it's never just one person. So I think it takes a community. And community to me is the people around you that you trust to really get you to where you need to go.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to have that group of people that have a common vision and a place that you're trying to head to, even if the visions are their own. But to have something that's more of a bigger impact, it's been incredible to be connected to a lot of those people.
Nice.
How is it that you got to really decide? I mean, when I started in business, it's like you want to be the man, you want to be the guy who gets everything done, and it's like I can't do it all. But then there's this like stigma. It's like you have to be able to. How did you, especially as a serial entrepreneur, be able to break through that for yourself and recognize just how important it was to have that community?
Yeah, I mean, so I make fun of myself that I had Superman syndrome when I started my first company in my mid-20s. And I knew I could do everything better than anybody else, period. But I had 60 things to do in any given day, and I could do maybe one of them better than anybody else. So I learned really quickly that unless it was going to be a team and community and people supporting me, that it wasn't going to be the case. And now when it comes to today, and everything that I do, I realized in order to get to the next level, I need my friends to help me, right? I think Zig Ziglar has my favorite quote ever, where he goes, no turtle ever got on top of a fence post all by its lonesome. And Zig Ziglar is like the Tony Robbins of the 70s. And, I knew in my 20s, I was like, I'm going to be that turtle that gets on top all by its lonesome. And then I was like, no, now I'm like, where's the easy button? Where's the support? Community is the easy button. How does everybody help me get on top? And when I'm there, how do I pull everybody else up? Right. And that's, I think, really what it takes. And yeah.
But what you just said, that once I get on top to bring other people with me, I think that's one of the aspects that a lot of people don't realize, like the importance of the community is that it's a harmony, it's an ebb and a flow. There are times where people are helping lift you up, but then you turn around and help pull them up right behind you. I think that's a beautiful visual. Like I see run into a fence and go, jump in and grab it on, and like you pull yourself, people push you up, and you're like, come on, let's go. And you pull them with you so you can keep running.
And that's really it. Everybody wants to, talk about competition and sports really being a catalyst for entrepreneurs. And when you really look at if you look at sports as an analogy, it's all about team. And what's team about? It's all about trust. It's all about connection, right? And even, I was a collegiate wrestler, and I was good because I was vicious. I was good because I was tenacious. And I guess I still am in business. But I definitely smoothed out some of those rougher edges. But in wrestling, what's great about wrestling is everybody's like, oh, it's an individual sport. It's not, right? Yeah, it's me who gets my hand raised ultimately, and it's me. There's nowhere else to hide upon. But you go as a dual meet. You go to tournaments as a team. You practice as a team. It's your coach, it's your teammates who get you there to be great. If you don't have a team, there's no one to practice against. There's no one to test you. There's no one to have you grow. And whether you're all out on the lonesome, it takes that whole team, that whole community behind you to thrive and be successful.
That's awesome. I was at a workshop down in Texas on social media, and I was talking with the guy. His name's Dylan Shively, and he made a comment, and I think it goes right along with what you're saying. For me, I always struggled with competition because I'm like, it just wasn't a thing for me. And he said, no, I want to be the best version of me because this other guy's going to see what I can do and he'll want to beat me, which helps him up level who he is. And when you have that kind of team where you're competing with yourself, I never thought about wrestling as a team sport, but my nephew plays, and like, that makes sense. I'd never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't, but any of the Olympic sports that are still individual, they're a team. Gymnastics, it's individual, it's a team. You see all the girls celebrating, last week or a few weeks ago. They did it as a team. So,
Yeah.
none of those swimmers, gymnasts, or any of those individual sports got there on their own. Some of them might have just had a coach, but that's a team. That's somebody supporting you. That's your community. Right? So who is supporting you on your path? Who is supporting you on your journey? And for me, it's what I really learned over the last few years. It's how many people could I support? Rising, you always hear this quote, rising tides raise all ships.
Yep.
How could I be the tide? Right? And how can we really raise everybody around us? And it doesn't need to be me first or them first. Okay, I get up, I help you up. You get up, you help me up. But it's so easy to call a friend up and say, hey, could you help me? And then do it. Right?
It's not easy to call up a friend and say, can you help me? I have to say, that's actually one of the hardest things that I struggle to do. I still struggle to do it. I just got done in July. I had a whole end of June. I had a health crisis. In July, just totally crashed. And being able to reach out and ask for help, I'm like, for me, it felt like I had to get my feet at least somewhat under me before I could even reach out for help. And I know I should have reached out earlier, but I didn't. How do you get to that point where it's like, you say it's easy to reach out for help? How do you do that, man?
Well, it's easy to reach out when you're on top and things are going well, first of all. But like you, it was fascinating because we spoke both when we were both in a pretty rubbish place in July. Me with an awful breakup. You could share, your own journey. But I, for the first time ever, just reached out to people because I haven't been in that dark of a place and I lost myself. And it was amazing just speaking to people like you and being like, yeah, I get that. So a lot of people were there themselves. I don't know if July was a great month for people, or maybe it's just who I was calling, but, or maybe people were finally vulnerable that I was vulnerable with them. But it was a really tremendous experience being picked up and dusted off by the people that loved me and letting them love me. Right. And the people that didn't pick up or weren't able to do that, that's fine. I'll say this, another way of answering your question is, well, what are you afraid of? Somebody not doing it? And I'll tell you this, I learned this, I got into I'll spare the story how I got to this. I basically got in an argument with somebody. But at the end of the day, when I was brushed everything off and reflected on it, I'm like, that guy sucked. But you know what? Thank you, because you told me who you were. And now I know who you are. I don't need to be vengeful. I don't need to do anything, but I know who you are. Okay, great. Thank you. So if somebody doesn't have your back, thank you. Right? But it's really great. Like everybody, I'll just equate this to business, a slight little side note. There's 3 answers you can get when you're raising money. Really 4, but there's yes, but, there's a maybe, and a no. What's the worst answer you could get? I'll ask you, Alex. What's the worst answer you could get?
Maybe.
Maybe. Why?
Because it's not definitive. Yes or no, you at least know where you stand, and a maybe, it leaves it in ambiguity.
So why do we want a community of maybes? I want a community of hell yeses. I want a community of people surrounding me that have my back. And if I call you up for help and you don't, maybe it's a bad day, fine, I get it, no big deal. Like you don't, it's not like a equation, like you don't help me or you're done. But like, I want to know where I stand. So that's how I do it. Okay, you tell me no big deal, no big deal today.
And when something happens, do they give you the benefit of the doubt? Do they go, okay, hey, you know what? This is out of your character. This is out of what I know you as. Help me understand what's going on. Where are you at? And it's like, I love that. It's like, all they're doing is giving you information. They're helping you sort your people. When you have trying times and you reach out and your community sees you, how they respond is nothing more than a means to help you sort your people. I think that's really cool. That's a really great way to look at that.
I mean, but you really find out who your friends are and who your acquaintances are. Yeah. And I really found out I have some really I have some really amazing people in my
Yeah. And then there's some that are really amazing people, just not in my circle, just not in this space. And it's like, you got to allow them to be that. So talk to me about the importance of knowing the people in your community. Because I know, like, for instance, when I went to the Bond Summit, there was a whole interview process, all this stuff. We'll talk about the Bond Summit later, but the importance of like knowing your community, knowing the people that you're bringing in around.
I mean, yeah, you really want to be able to know who they are and what they're made out of, and you know, and the character that they have, and really the trust. I mean, I've spent a lot of time, especially living in Miami. There's a lot of people that I thought were amazing, and that when you kind of dig down, not so much. And there's a lot of people that I used to hang out with that I don't. No fault of their own, nothing that they did, but the people that I really want to spend time with, they show up for me, and I really listen to the actions they do, how they interact with business. I found out some friends weren't the greatest people in business. I listened. I go, okay, if that's how you want to act in business, then that's fine. Go do you. But I don't want to be part of that. And there is no make wrong. I still love those people. It's who I spend my time with is going to be a reflection on me of who I become and what that says about me as well.
Yeah, I think it's who you choose to be around. Everyone says it's like the people you spend the most time with, the 5 closest friends. I keep using that quote, but it's really about the people you choose consciously to be around, because that tells your unconscious, this is what I want. And one of the things I read in a book, it was The Courage to be Disliked. It was talking about Adlerian psychology, but one of the things it talks about is like in community, developing the division of labor. And one of the things in my mind, it's like, find a person who's going to be broke for you in your community. It's not going to be me. Find the person who's going to have the struggles, be there, support them. Who's going to be the support? Find the person who's good at systems. Make sure you have somebody in your community that's good at systems, so that when you have a challenge, you can lean on them, but be something of value for the people in your community too. Like, make sure that you're bringing something that's of value to the community. I think that was one of the things you and I talked a lot about, was like the unique skill set of everybody. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something to offer.
Everybody has something to offer at any level, no matter who you are and who you're affiliating with, right? but it does start with trust, right? It does start with character. It does start with authenticity. I guess you can't start in four places, but those are, I guess, fundamental pillars of community. It's fundamental pillars of what we build bond around. Is you better be authentic, and you better be trustworthy. And really, if I think if you have trust, if you're authentic and you have trust and communication, anything is possible in any relationship.
There's there's a whole school of thought for coaches, and I've heard it multiple times, and I adamantly disagree that a coach needs to be perfect, that a coach shouldn't admit their flaws or their shortcomings to their clients. It's like, if you have a challenge, you got to put on your face, you got to put on your mask, and you got to sit there and tell them, yeah, oh yeah, this is what I've got, and I've got this. And like, you're supposed to be the pillar of excellence. And I'm like, for me, I'm watching your smile, I'm watching your reaction. I'm like, no. I totally that up. I know exactly what that looks like because I fucked that up last time I was here. So it's like, yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I know for me, I'm a stubborn, hard-headed individual, and I've had a coach for going on 10 years now. And the biggest breakthroughs I've had is when she's actually shared with me what she's dealt with, and me seeing that vulnerability is actually when I actually have the breakthroughs. Right? If we're perfect on the other end of things, listen, vulnerability, everybody goes, like you, it's like, how did I create trust with you? It was really simple. I was vulnerable with you. I shared with you, right? And I let you in, and then you let me in. That's all it takes. It's not rocket science. As long as I say, hey, my guard is down, let's just be real, let's just be authentic. I'm trusting you not to hurt me.
Yeah. I think what you just said, there's a distinction there that I discovered recently, which is the difference between vulnerability and courage, because both of them share authentic truths about yourself. But vulnerability is trusting the community that you're in. Courage is sharing it, knowing you might get hurt. And for me, I think that one of the important was when I started surrounding myself with people like you, who I really felt like I could be safe with, where I could share something and feel that safety. I noticed the difference for me between that feeling of courage and the feeling of vulnerability. And it may just be my distinction, but it was the distinction for me, and it was a drastic difference.
No, for sure. I would agree with that. I would just riff on that and say one thing. In order to be vulnerable, you have to be courageous. Right?
Yes.
So you look at so basically, if I'm vulnerable, what I'm really saying is my guard is down. You could see me and you could hurt me. I'm vulnerable. I have no guard up.
Yeah.
That's it. You could see me. I have no defenses up, so you can't hurt me. That is courage, right? If you actually talk to a real hero, the guys that are over there fighting wars, the guys running into buildings, but real heroes, those guys are scared like heck. Or they're spec ops and they're so well trained to deal with it that they don't even realize the risk or whatever, they mitigated it, right? But that's what a hero is. It takes the courage to go in anyway, despite your fear. The people that are fearless, well, I don't know how a big of a grip that they have on reality at that time, right? But that's the difference. Everybody has this whole vision on that, oh, they just go in and they're just brave. No, they go in despite their fear. So it takes the courage to go do that.
Being vulnerable, opening up, sharing, connecting, recognizing when you're in a challenging situation and asking for help, seeing who shows up and learning your people. I'm one of the people who are watching this live. I'm sitting there going, cool. I need a community. I've got nobody. Where do I start? How do I start to build a community when I've had the mask on, I've been a solopreneur, I've done this all myself. How do I even begin the process of building some sort of a community?
You start with reaching out. Probably you start by joining other communities, right? You start by listening. You start by saying hello. And you start by putting yourself out there, right? And there's many different.
Go ahead.
No, I think there's plenty of places to start, right? The natural segue is like you join a community like Bond Summit, right? I've done all the work for you, right? Or you join a local community, or you join places where you have mutual interests, whether it's anything from yoga to business to whatever is for you. Start somewhere, start with a mutual interest, and start building on that.
I think, yeah, what you said, the thing that made me smile the most is where you said, just say hi. I'm like, that's really all it takes to start is just walk through, say hi randomly. There are some people who I have very deep connections with that are part of my internal community that I met at a coffee shop that I just happened to say hi to. And it's amazing the power of just being open to having those conversations. A lot of people are lonely, and a lot of people are looking for connection, and being that one to take that risk, I think, is huge.
Yeah, I will say this: if you do go up to somebody and say hi, listen. Don't speak. Don't be arrogant. Don't pontificate. If everybody wants to talk about themselves, everybody goes, "Oh, tell me about yourself, Rob." I go, "Talk about myself till I'm blue in the face. I'm more curious about you." You know, everybody loves talking
So
about it, so be curious.
a couple months ago, I got on a plane, I flew down to Mexico, and I went to this incredible event called the Bond Summit. Have you ever heard of this thing before?
Once or twice.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I've done a lot of trainings, I've done a lot of workshops, I've done a lot of retreats. And for me, when I went to the Bond Summit, there was something different about it. There was something unique about the community that you and Joe had put together. Tell me a little bit about how the Bond Summit came to be, and then we'll dive a little bit into how you start to create that kind of a community. So tell me a little bit how it came to be.
Yeah, it really came to be out of a conversation with me and my incredible business partner, Joe, when we were coming together. She has just this incredible background in transformative education and personal growth and development, and she's probably one of the foremost experts out there. We really just came together and we're like, I have an amazing network and community of some of the most extraordinary humans on this planet. And she also is no stranger to that as well, and is one of the most amazing people when it comes to content creation and growth. And we really just kind of came together out of that conversation and just create something really unique and special. And what we're really focused on at the Bond Summit is really not only community, but what we do when we bring that community together, right? But it really came from that notion, and how we build the community is really everything I spoke in this call is listen to people, what they really, and let them tell me who they are, and really bring on and bring in some of the most extraordinary people that I know, so that everybody could trust, well, themselves, the path that we're on, that the universe has their back, or whatever language you like to use there, and that they could trust others. And the other key pillar is being authentic, right? So that's really what it's all about when it really comes to the community side of things.
I think that one of the best experiences that I had at the Bond Summit was really that ability, like you said, to put the walls down. I read people. I'm constantly on guard. I know what's going on, who's doing what and stuff. And so being able to be in a place where it was very unique, because I think that almost every single person that was there was showing up internally the way they were externally. And that may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but that is very, very rare to have a few people, let alone to have all of them.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kudos to not only what the team has done. it's just kudos to what we're able to create there, right? It's when everybody's actually has their masks down and is authentically able to share, it's extraordinary. And as a business owner, you know this. There's the hard things about hard things, right? It isn't an easy journey, it's a lonely journey. Very few times a year are you actually able to authentically share what's going on. You can't share it with your significant other. You can't share it with your family. You can't share it with investors or customers. Everybody's got to believe in you, that you have everything together and everything's going well. Because if you don't, they don't want to invest in you. and and that's just a fact of life, unfortunately, and that's fine. But coming to a place where you could authentically share what's going on so you get support in it and go to work on it, for me, that's everything. Because if I'm not going to work on my weaknesses, well, where am I going to grow? Those are the things that are going to hold me back. Those are the things that are going to prevent me from having extraordinary results. So, you said where the Bond Summit came from, quite selfish. To be perfectly honest, I was very selfish. I wanted to create something that was missing that I needed.
Yeah. I think when you're talking about that, the piece that jumped out at me was I could rest. I could put it down for a moment.
Yeah.
I think that was something I heard a lot of people is I could put it down for a moment.
Yeah. You don't need to come in. And in fact, if you come in, it'll be counterproductive if you come in with your ego. But the fact that you could actually just relax and say, things aren't going well. Bringing in people, finding the right people, sales and stuff. Where do I find the most extraordinary people, right?
Right.
It's who's the perfect fit? Right? It's not easy to come in and say, hey, this isn't working. It takes something.
For a lot of people out there, it's hard to know where to begin. We talk about just going out and saying hi, talking to people, building that community, joining that. There's a lot of personal and growth development stuff that's available. I know that we've got a Bond Summit coming up. People who are interested in coming to something like that, how do they connect with you? How do they connect to find out more about the Bond Summit?
Yeah, so really simple, bondsummit.com. You can take a look at it. My contact info is on that site. You can email us. We have a contact form. My email is my name, Rob Matzkin at Gmail. Email me. Would love to speak to you. And it's November 4th through 7th. And it's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're excited about that. Easy for everybody to get to. At just an extraordinary location at this extraordinary vineyard. And so if somebody's curious about what that looks like, what's in it for them and what that might be like, happy to speak to them.
If you're somebody who's pushing this, you're the one who's constantly holding space for everybody in your world. You're the coach, you're the consultant, you're the business leader, and you're looking for a place where you can put your guard down, rest, recover, and get a little bit of vulnerability so that you can step out and do it some more for your people. I highly recommend you go check out the Bond Summit, connect with Rob, great guy, and anything you guys need, anything we can do to help you, that's what we're here for. That's why we're doing this live, help kind of promote and push people to be a little bit more vulnerable, be a little bit more authentic, and ask for help when you need it. Rob, thank you for being there for me, and I appreciate you coming on and being there for my people. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, make sure you connect with Rob, check out the Bond Summit, and if you have any insight, like, comment, or connect down below on whatever social media platform you're watching this on. We're going to go back through and reply to all the comments that are in there. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. And remember, reality isn't fact. Reality isn't real. Reality is what you make it. Make it a great day.